Smart 24 TV, and welcome to this segment of Smart Means Business, where we talk about the entertainment but in the business side, where we bring it from the perspective of the business. And today we are going to get something a little bit different, as we are going to look at the prominent business entertainers we have into the industry. You know, some of us know them as perhaps entertainers, but they have another side of them. And today we are going to look at the top three that are leading, that are so global, that are dominating this game of business, and they're in the entertainment sector at the same time. And to kick off the list, we are going to start with a man you all know as Dr. Dre. Yes, Dr. Dre is a rapper. Started all the way from the south. They call it the west side. Yes, the west side. As a man, you know, they came up with a lot of hustles. They grew up in very, very tough conditions. We know Dr. Dre, for the label he started, that was Death Row Records. Yes, one of the records that was generating about $100 million US every year for the entertainer. Yes, and a lot of artists got signed onto that record label. And I mean, when I talk about artists being signed on the label, I mean artists that were bringing the record label revenue, like too many revenues. One of the artists at the time, during the 1990s, when that music was so much into a high demand, that was Snoop Dogg. Yes, was one of the people that generated the Death Row Records quite an amount of money. And of course, we can't forget the legend Tupac, who was also signed on that very label. And the label made quite a lot of money. Dr. Dre has been so much into, actually, I'll say this, he's not been so much into like trying to invest into the ventures, but most of his investments, he has decided to put them back into the music. Most of his investments actually are musical. You know, he's been loving the music ever since the childhood. And talking about Dr. Dre, you remember that those headsets which used to be very famous at the time when they used to be released. I remember I was at my I was at university, and everybody used to like Beats by Dre, you know, one of the prominent. They had really a unique sound, very quality sound, that most of the producers like Timbaland, Swiss Beats used to use them in their studios as their headsets, because they could detect the good sound, and that sound you used to hear in the music. You know, for those of you who used to listen to that music of Dr. Dre at that time, that sound was coming from the Beats by Dre, you know. So when he came up with that company, with the founder of Interscope, the founder of Interscope, that was in 2006, yes, it was 2006 when they formed it. So the company ran up to around 2014, Beats by Dre, because the very first time those beats were released on the market, some of the prominent celebrities, despite the producers, but we saw artists like Lil Wayne, Akon, Lady Gaga, and so many other. They were posting the videos wearing the Beats by Dre. This was a very strong marketing strategy for the rapper. So in 2014, something interesting happened. Something interesting happened when the Beats by Dre was bought by Apple Music. Yes, Apple bought the Beats for $3 billion. Which made Dr. Dre the first hip-hop billionaire, though he didn't last so long. As you know, things always keep on changing. That was in 2014, though that money was both into cash and stocks, so meaning some was given us cash and other was given us stock. So they have been performing really so good, and ever since that transition, though at some point I feel like maybe if Dr. Dre continued with the Beats by Dre, perhaps it could be gaining quite much more money than that. But anyway, it's business, and that's how everything runs into that world. Then what happened? I talked about the Death Row Records, which was the first label that Dr. Dre started. After the death of the legend Tupac, the rap legend, after his death, the label got some bit of issues, you know, like finances and everything. And come 1996, yes, the label went bankrupt and it was closed. Death Row, that was the can I call it the death of Death Row Records? But Dr. Dre didn't give up. That very year, like I told you, he's been a guy who has been so passionate about music, and his investments have been in music. That very year, Dr. Dre started another label, Aftermath, which was called Aftermath. And Aftermath has seen really quite a great success, because we saw artists that were signed on this label who made a lot of money for the record label. One of them is The Game. Yes, the game that when you released that album called Red, Retired and Extremely Dangerous, though it's received a lot of negative criticism into the US, actually in the mainstream televisions in the US, but people on the streaming platforms did stop streaming the album. It got a lot of sales, and Aftermath was getting a lot of income. Another artist that has really earned a lot from who has helped Aftermath earn a lot of revenue is Kendrick Lamar, that rapper, for his, oh my God, you remember that album? For those of you who love hip hop, Kendrick Lamar released an album called Good Kid, Mad City. The album had a touch of the Aftermath, with Top Dog being responsible for Kendrick, but in partnership with Aftermath. And the album really streamed a lot of big. It won Kendrick Lamar so many awards, the Grammy Awards, the BET Awards. Kendrick Lamar went places just because of that album. But that is something, credit that we give for Dr. Dre's Aftermath. And actually, remember, when Dr. Dre studied the Aftermath, he was in partnership. Yes, he was in partnership with this label called Interscope. Yes, Interscope Records of Jimmy, a gentleman called Jimmy Iovine. Yes, they partnered together. And actually, Aftermath could make the music, then Interscope could distribute that music. You know, that's how it works. There is a producer, there is a distributor. So they share the market together. And Dr. Dre, talking about Dr. Dre's net worth, he's currently is valued at $800 million US dollars. So that's it for Dr. Dre. Then come that was number 3. Now, number 2, that's Sean Combs. Many know as Puff Daddy. We call him PDD. And you know, there are so many names you can call him. He's one of another prominent entrepreneur. Currently, he is valued at his net worth is 825 million US dollars. Yes, that's Puff Daddy's net worth as of late. Puff Daddy's history of concerning his money, I remember some time back, that was in 1996, during the time when we had for those of you who used to love hip hop, when there was that battle of the East Coast and the West Coast, when Dr. Dre came up and formed that label, which was Death Row then, PDD had Bad Boy Records, and Bad Boy Records is known for signing one of the prominent rappers we know as Notorious B.I.G. Everyone knows B.I.G., who died, I think, in 1997 after being shot. And this guy really made Bad Boys quite an amount of money, a lot of money, $100 million plus, you know, because he used to sell a lot of his albums were really on market. And we cannot forget that single that really outstood a lot, like all the singles. That single was You Nobody Till Somebody Kills You. That song was so emotional by Notorious B.I.G. and the Bad Boys Records of Puff Daddy. Yes, because Puff Daddy has been a businessman from way from the beginning, because he dropped out of his college, was studying actually business course, and he chose just to do the business, just like to practice the business. So that song sold about 80 million copies plus global sales, that song, and it earned Bad Boys Records an amount of money. Talking about investments for Puff Daddy invested in a wheels company, though it collapsed after some time. That was CGC Wheels 50 partnership with a company from Kansas, yes, where they were distributing the spare parts of the wheels and distributing them to the global scale. Though the prices it sold were a little bit high, because PDD, according to PDD's vision, was to sell these luxury, these items for people who love luxury. So each wheel was going for about $700 to $3,000 each, meaning the cheapest was $3,000 and the most expensive was, the cheapest was $700 and the most expensive was $3,000. Yes, so the company didn't really, they got some issues, Yeah, you know, that partnership. It was a 50-50 partnership, and his partner, that was Gerald World at the time, Gerald World of that company, CGC, from Kansas, was like, I thought when I partner with PDD, actually, he gave an example that partnering with Puff Daddy is like Nike partnering with Michael Jordan, like to benefit. But though the things didn't go, the transactions didn't really go well, like how they were supposed to go, and the company actually was declared bankrupt. Yes, the company was declared bankrupt. Actually, in the first 6 months, yes, it went bankrupt. I think the prices were a little bit high for the people, yes, but Puff Daddy's market was for those who really love luxury. So what happened when the company was closed? Puff Daddy never stopped getting deals. You know, he's been a businessman. Puff Daddy went ahead and partnered with a brand called Ciroc. Ciroc is a vodka. It's normally consumed in the southern states of America, and a lot of people. So that deal really got P. Diddy a lot of money. I don't know if you remember some time back, for those who used to watch, because P. Diddy partnered, used to do songs with Rick Ross back then. But whenever a video could end, you could see a Ciroc bottle at the end, and it could make it seem like Ciroc belongs to Diddy. So Diddy became the face of Ciroc, and that really got him so let me say, many money. No, that doesn't come out. A lot of money. Yes, he got so rich. Though still, you know, as things really keep on happening and things don't go very well, you end up not going to where you want. But still, P. Diddy made it so well. And we saw him coming on a TV series. I think it was called The Four, whereby people could participate, and they could, of course, they pay some money to participate. It was a TV show. It hosted DJ Khaled and P. Diddy. Yes, P. Diddy was also there, and he was making that money. He was among the judges, whereby they could look for talent. Those people were really well talented, and that's how things could go around. So P. Diddy has been so much into the world of business. We remember some time back he signed Jennifer Lopez, because rumors even went to an extent whereby people used to think he's dating Jennifer Lopez, but it was strictly business. Yes, Jennifer Lopez back in the days, he used to earn quite a lot of money. So when he got onto the Bad Boys records, he earned P. Diddy quite more money. So talking about B.I.G. back, because Bad Boy records of P. Diddy, like the artist whom we consider to be the legends of that brand was B.I.G. B.I.G. started up on the streets, and he was discovered by Diddy. So he started on selling records. In the process, that's when he got so connected to so many other artists, because P. Diddy pushed him. P. Diddy has not really been so good at the music, like when it comes to participating, like singing as a rapper, because so many of us know him as a rapper, but he has not had a very successful career. However, he has also had some successes in other singles which he has produced, one of them being I'm Coming Home, a single which everybody knows, which became a national anthem for anyone. Yeah, it grossed in the first week that it sold quite an amount of copies, which were about 70 million. It shows you P. Diddy, that was the mind of P. Diddy. The production was of P. Diddy. Wow, what else can I say? Well, that's it for P. Diddy. Now let's talk about the #1 prominent entrepreneur. This guy, Jay-Z, Sean Carter. Jay-Z started his career way back in the 1986 as a hustling street. And you know, the most interesting fact about the three people I've mentioned about, they came from very humble backgrounds, but they had the entrepreneurial mind. They had this mind that I have to make revenue. So they came up with these investments and they put everything on table and they had everything set up, you know. Jay-Z, he's a billionaire, actually. He's the richest. He's the richest of them all. He's a billionaire. Actually, if we are to add the net worth with Beyonce, it brings it to about 1.5 billion. So how did Jay-Z come up with this journey? Back in 1996, Jay-Z establishes his very first own record producing company. That was Rockefeller Records. Actually, up to now, it's the only company that Jay-Z owned. In 1996, and then he releases that album that was known as Reasonable Doubt. The album didn't really perform very well, yes, but that it did make Jay-Z to give up, you know. As an entrepreneur, so many times we get so frustrated, but Jay-Z is a very good example. He didn't really give up, because at the time that album was released, because his first attempt, he wanted to make money through the music. But the challenge was that there were quite a lot of competitors at the moment during the time it was released, 96. A lot of albums were going mainstream and they were making much more money, and people used to focus a lot on them, you know. For example, during that time, I remember there was a group called The Outcast, which released an album. There was the Fugees that released an album which grossed over $1 billion. Oh my God, one of the most selling albums, the Fugees. So Jay-Z trying to come into the market, he wasn't fitting there actually. So things were a little bit hard, but he didn't give up. He went on pushing the music very hard. Before we know it, he became, because of his consistency in hard work, signing deals, because one of the people we know for Jay-Z, who has made Jay-Z's Rockefeller Records quite an amount of money, is Rihanna. Rihanna got signed on Rockefeller Records, and I think, though, okay, he's being managed by Rockefeller Records, but his music is being distributed by Universal. You know, that's, it can be, like, there is a distributor and then there is a manager. So Rihanna comes to Rockefeller, he records, then Universal distributes. So it's a partnership that they come along as they understand each other. So Rihanna comes onto the deal, and, you know, Jay-Z keeps on rising so high. And we remember in 2004, where something remarkable happened. Jay-Z being made the CEO of Def Jam Records, and that pushed his Rockefeller Records to another level. Now, you see, this is what happens. He's a CEO to one of the leading recording companies, which was started by Russell Simmons, yes? But then he's a CEO of Rockefeller Records. He's a founder. So you see, he was having a double income in this incident, whereby people could come and get deals from Def Jam Records, since Def Jam was stronger than Rockefeller. But still, because what Jay-Z used to do, when he could get like 10 artists on the label, he could sign like 5 on Def Jam, then 5 go to Rockefeller. Actually, Kanye West was one of them. Yes, Kanye West is one of the products of Jay-Z, because he came as a producer, Jay-Z gave him the platform, and yeah, he produced his first albums under Rockefeller Records. So Jay-Z really did that work. Jay-Z, we know him for Tidal, the music platform where so many people stream. So many people actually call it the black platform for the black music, because Jay-Z came up and said when he started this platform and said, now it's time that we own our music, you know. In other words, he was trying to say our music is now ours. Yeah, Jay-Z partnered with Damian Marley, a son to the late Bob Marley, and they came up with the Tidal streaming platform, which gives artists favorable rates. Because with Jay-Z's Tidal, for you to earn $1, you need to have at least 60 streamers. Yes. So if you have 60 plus 60, so if you can make 1,000 streamers, how much money is that? You can try to make the math and divide. You see, it's a little bit favorable as compared to other streaming platforms. And a lot of artists have really gained a lot. You know, when Jay-Z launched Tidal, you know, a musician out there, and you really want to develop the business perspective, think about this. Jay-Z launched his Tidal. After launching Tidal, he got all his music from all platforms whereby it was being played for free, including YouTube. And it was all like swept away, and it was taken to Tidal, whereby if you wanted to get Jay-Z's music, you had to pay some dollars. You had to go to Tidal and you pay some dollars to get that music. I remember I used to like streaming it from YouTube. I was one of the people who used to like getting it for free. But when I went, they could tell you this video is no longer available. You know, so it shows you a strategy, what you do as an artist out there. You may not launch a streaming site, but what you can do, you can simply just create your own website. Yes, you create your own website, and you say that whenever I release a track, I'm going to sell each track for about, most of the prices they normally put the tracks at is $3, $4. When you multiply that, it's about 12,000 to 15,000. I mean, think about that. Instead of making the music and you give it out for free, why can't you think about such a thing? And you create your own website as a musician, as a producer. You make your beats and people want to access your beats. You simply tell them that, hey, come to my website. You share them the website, because as long as people keep on viewing your substance for free, trust me, you're going to, like, there is a way the value attached reduces. Because we see after Jay-Z launching Tidal, few months later, he became a billionaire. Yes, because now people were streaming the music. The albums were on the platform. And so many other artists have come to join Tidal across Africa and across the world at large. Now, talking about Jay-Z, some time back, I think it was in 2009, he had a clothing brand that was called the Rocker Wear, though he sold it off due to some reasons. Yes, he had to sell off the wear, and it was bought, and that also increased his stake. Some other investments for Jay-Z where he has put his money includes clubs. Yes, he has casinos, clubs, restaurants, and all these are high-end investments that Jay-Z is investing in. He has stakes in Jetmark. Jetmark is known as private for, like, let me say, Uber for private jets. Yes, he has investments, stocks into that company. So you can imagine that. How many people use private jets in the USA? Very many. Actually, it may not be really private jets, but they could be public jets. But in terms of Uber for private jet, you order, because remember, it's not like here where you leave a district to another district and you can just even use a bus or a taxi. Either way, you have to use air transport. So you can see how much money Jay-Z can make in a day by just investing in private Uber, you know this guy, one of the richest people in the world, that's Elon Musk, actually is the richest. Jay-Z has shares in his company called SpaceX. Yes, the company is called SpaceX, one of these prominent companies, a space company. Jay-Z has shares right there. So you can see how he keeps on thinking business all the time. I remember another business which Jay-Z did, which was so outstanding into the music world. When he was releasing that album, his album known as the Black Album, and on the album he came and featured Linkin Park. Unfortunately, the band, I think, a little bit split currently after the death of one of their lead singers. Yeah, but you remember that song called Encore? Oh my God, it sold records, platinum records. You know, this was, Jay-Z has this mindset that, yes, I'm a rapper, but I can fuse rap with something different so that I can break into that market. Now, when he did that collab with Linkin Park, it increased his penetration to the market of the Europeans, which like that kind of a music, and the whites who like that music. Whites are so much of rock music. They love a lot of rock music. So if you're a rapper and a musician out there, it's always good to think of a way you can make a collaboration with that artist and see how you market, how you can penetrate that artist's market. And to make things interesting, when Jay-Z penetrated their market, he outshined them. It's interesting. It shows you how lyrically genius is. This is one guy I know that doesn't think twice to invest. He takes the risk. He does what it takes. And he risks it all, at the end of the day. He doesn't really mind. Then, recently, when this year was beginning, that was in about March, Jay-Z he has a champagne brand, actually. Wow, this guy, he has a champagne brand. He was dealing with some company called LM. The company is called LVMH. And he wanted to sell off his champagne for $630 million. So literally was trying to sell it off. The champagne is called Amand de Brignac. Yes, Amand de Brignac. It's a champagne for $630 million. So you can see how he was trying to, to think about how we can make this money, venture into these investments and make all these big deals. Though I don't know really how the deal transpired later, but I think they are still in talks about that champagne brand. You normally hear him in his songs. He speaks about his brand. So, because he's a brand himself, as Jay-Z is a brand. Jay-Z comes number one. We've seen Dr. Dre. We've seen PDD. We've seen Jay-Z. But interestingly, how I imagine how these three came together and came up with one joint venture, and we have the Fantastic Three. Yeah. We have other prominent entertainers, but they got some little bit of issues. A person who could have been in this list, perhaps, I think, would be 50 Cent. But something happened to 50 Cent currently, and when you check into his net worth, he's about you can't even imagine. About 50. If I said 50 million US dollars would be a lot. But all this came about with crime, issues to do with crime. It shows you, it tries to paint a picture. As an entrepreneur out there into the entertainment and you love to venture, discipline is very key for you to achieve any financial goal. You know, don't break the laws. Be legal. These people pay taxes. They don't do illegal business. It's legal. It's paperwork. It's documented. Jay-Z has no record of going to prison. Even the time when he almost attempted to go to prison about some guy where he stabbed a guy, somehow he defended himself. He did whatever it takes to defend himself because he knows the price when you go to jail. There is a way you come out when your finances are never settled. Dr. Dre is the cleanest rapper I know concerning crime. He wasn't a gangster at the end of the day. He never dealt in cocaine. He never did cocaine. Actually, Jay-Z, I forgot to mention one of his investments. He has a marijuana. You know, in some states in America, marijuana is legal. It was made legal, but not because they want to use it for the wrong purposes, but for medicinal purposes. So Jay-Z has some investments in marijuana because when we study his history back in the days, we see he kind of tried to do some cocaine business. That was in the 1994 because I remember when the FBI tried to investigate his friend Emory Jones. Anyway, to cut the story short, the top 3 entertainers, we've seen Jay-Z number 1, number 2 being Puff Daddy, number 3 being Dr. Dre. That's it for the entertainment news. Coming up is sports business. Keep it S&B.